Miss Everdeen, this way, please.
Such bravery, such spirit, such contempt.
President Snow, what an honor.
My dear, I think we can make this so much simpler if we agree not to lie to each other. What do you think?
Yes, I think that would save time.
Sit down, please. Problem, Miss Everdeen. A problem that began the moment you revealed those poison berries in the arena. If that head game maker, Seneca Crane, had had any brains at all, he would have blown you to bits then and there. But here you are. I expect you can guess where he is.
Yes, I think so.
After that fiasco, there was nothing left to do but to let you play out your little scenario. And you were very good. That whole love-crazed, besotted schoolgirl routine. Impressive. Truly. You convinced the people in the capital. Unfortunately, not everyone in the districts fell for it. I mean, you can't know this, but in several of them, people viewed your little trick with the berries as an act of defiance, not as an act of love. And if a girl from District 12, of all places, can defy the capital and walk away unharmed, what is to prevent them from doing the same? What is to prevent, say, an uprising that can lead to revolution? And then in a fraction of time, the whole system collapses.
It must be a fragile system if it can be brought down by just a few berries.
Yes, it is indeed. But not in the way you imagine it.
How should I imagine?
You should imagine thousands upon thousands of your people dead. This town of yours reduced to ashes. Imagine it gone. Made radioactive, buried under dirt as if it had never existed, like District 13. You fought very hard in the games, Miss Everdeen. But they were games. Would you like to be in a real war?
No.
Good. Neither would I. Did your mother make these?
Peter.
Oh, he's a lovely boy. Tell me, at what point did he realize the depth of your indifference towards him?
I'm not indifferent.
Don't lie. You promised.
Why don't you just kill me now?
I don't want to kill you. I want us to be friends. But if not friends, then allies.
What do I need to do?
When you and Peter are on tour, you need to smile. You need to be grateful. But above all, you need to be madly prepared to end it all in love. You think you can manage that?
Yes.
Yes, what?
I'll convince them.
No. Convince me. For you, Miss Everdeen. Do convince me. For the sake of your loved ones.
Saying that I've seen lots of Donald Sutherland movies. He was made for this part. He is creepy and he is malevolent and he understands the dynamics of power as President Snow. Have you all seen these movies? This is the Hunger Games series. This is movie 2, a movie called Catching Fire. It's on TNT this afternoon. I'll probably watch it again. It's what happens. I was first exposed to the Hunger Games several years ago when my daughters were teenagers, and I'd been sort of listening around the church, and especially the girls were talking about this book, The Hunger Games. And then my daughters, have you read these, Dad? No, I haven't read them. And well, you need to. These are really good. And I said, well, tell me, what's it about? Well, it's about this time and place when teenagers are on a reality television show where they fight to the death. They start with 24 and they end with 1. And I listened to this and I thought, I think I'm going to pass, girls. This doesn't sound like my kind of deal. So at least come to the movie. And so, sort of on the whole dad-daughter date thing, I went to the Hunger Games, and boy, was I wrong. The reason for the reality television show is so that the head of state in the Capitol can sow the seeds of fear and intimidation in the hearts and minds of people they are trying to control. Sound familiar? And it works for 74 years until this young 16-year-old girl goes to the games, wins the hearts of everyone all around the country, and then wins the games through an act of defiance against the state. And now we're talking about collapse of the system. And all President Snow has left is more threats, more fear, more intimidation. Would you like to be in a real war? And even though it doesn't sound like it, President Snow is afraid because he knows that there are powers greater than fear and intimidation in the world. Now, lest you think this is just a movie, have any of you read any of the news articles about the Christian purges in China that have been taking place over Christmas time? If you haven't, Google it. It's sobering. Christianity is allowed in China, and there are sanctioned churches, but there have been these uprisings of house churches. People just want to get together in small groups, and they have no political purpose except simply to gather and worship and praise Jesus. And the government has cracked down. There's a church in Sichuan province called Early Rain, the pastor, a church of 800. The pastor has been incarcerated, so have 24 of his members. They are placing surveillance equipment in all sanctuaries. There are no Christmas decorations allowed any place in public in China. The only place where Christmas decorations are allowed are, guess where? The hotels where the Americans stay. That's it. Folks, this is the mighty Chinese government, one of the two great powers in the world today. And they are cracking down on small groups of people that are meeting in houses. They are stopping, with soldiers and military and police people, children who are in Bible classes, because that's against the rules. They have ended the sale of Bibles in China. It's not big things. These are just people who want to gather around and worship God and praise the love of Jesus. What in the world are they so afraid of? Let's sing. Did you hear the story that was just read just a few minutes ago? It's the story about King Herod. It's the other birth story of Jesus. It takes place in the Gospel of Matthew. A little less familiar to us, but it's still an important story that most of us know. And so there are wise men, magi, who are from places east of where the baby is born. And they are astrologers, and they are watching the stars, and they see something different in the sky. They see a star shining, and they follow the star until they get to Jerusalem. And they tell this story of a star, and what they've learned is that a child will be born under this star. It says in the scriptures that King Herod and all of Jerusalem is distressed by this news. It's a little more clear in the Greek. They're afraid. And so Herod calls a secret meeting with these three men and says, when you find this child, why don't you come back to me and let me know where he is so that I can worship him too. And so the wise men go on their way. They follow the star until they get to Bethlehem, and they find the baby Jesus. And you know the story. They bring him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And that's another sermon for another time. But they are warned in a dream as they are about to leave that Herod does not intend to worship the child. And so they go back to their home by a different way. That's where the story ended there, but it continues in the Bible, and some of you know where it goes. When Herod learns that the wise men have not returned and will not return, he is furious. To be more precise, he's so afraid that paranoia has overcome him. And he orders his soldiers to go out and murder every male child 2 years and under so that he can get this child and kill it, so that it cannot become what it's supposed to become. And of course, you know the story. Joseph has had a dream, the father, and before Herod's soldiers can reach Bethlehem, Joseph and Mary and the baby Jesus have left Palestine, and they're off to Egypt. Herod's plans are foiled. This is arguably the most powerful man in Palestine at the time. He has riches, he has wealth, he has armies at his disposal. He can do anything he wants. And yet he's afraid of an infant born to peasants. Let me ask the question over again. Why? There's an old story, and I think I may have told it here before. If I have, bear with me. It fits here as well. It's a story, a tale about a contest between the wind and the sun. The wind and the sun are together one day, and they see this man walking. And they decide that they're going to see which one can get the man to remove his coat. And so the wind goes first, and the wind blows, and the man becomes cold. And he takes his coat and he wraps it around him. And the harder the wind blows, the tighter the man wraps the coat around him. Next, it's the sun's turn. And the sun comes out and simply shines. And the warmth of his rays warm the man from the inside out. And he willingly removes his coat. Fear and intimidation work. They are powerful motivating forces in our world. This is why the Roman government in the time of Jesus used the cross. It wasn't just a tool for executing criminals, it was a public display. And the message was clear. If you get out of line, you are going to land just like this person did right here. You're going to be up there, nailed to a cross, and you are going to die a horrible and public and gruesome death. Fear works. It gets you to do what they want you to do. But it does not here's the kicker. It does not capture your heart. All it does in those who are now afraid is breeds resentment. Gets them to draw their coat tighter and tighter so that they go further and further away from the source of that power. It can get you to do what they want you to do, but they will not have your heart. So it must be a fragile system. If a peasant infant can bring it down just simply by being born. Yes, it is. Let's sing. So what is the power that a powerless infant has over those with such great power? It's quite simply this. It is the possibility that someone loves you so much that he is willing to give his life for you. That's it. Someone loves you so much that he's willing to give his life for you. And that takes your heart. And all of a sudden, you start doing things automatically simply because you've been warmed from the inside out by the love of someone who gives himself for you. Now, as the story goes, the child is spared this time. But as his life unfolds, that will change. He will end up on that cross. He will take the punishment for us. He will become the subject of a brutal regime bent on creating the seeds of fear. He will do all of that. And he does it for you, out of love for you. And that love is more powerful than any fear that the forces and elements and the tyrannies of this world can manufacture for you. And I'm not just talking about governments here. Maybe you live under an abusive relationship. Maybe you've known sickness, and that sickness has caused fear in your heart. Maybe it's something as simple as a disagreement between you and someone else. And you're afraid to go to that person because you're afraid of the blow-up that will occur. And it's a small thing at first. But you keep avoiding each other over and over and over again. And the small thing becomes large. And pretty soon you see that person on the street or in the shopping mall, and you turn the other direction. And fear has so taken over your life that it controls everything that you do. These are tyrants in our world. And they are broken by the love of a child. Yes, fear is a powerful motivator. But love takes your soul, and it changes you, and it makes you into something new and different, with a new and different purpose in your life. A little later in the movie, there's a conversation between Katniss and her sister, Prim. And Prim says, you saved me. You gave me another chance. And Katniss said, yes, to live. And Prim said, no, to do something. The love of one who sacrifices himself for you is infectious. And it enters into your heart. And it warms your soul. And all of a sudden, you see new possibilities. Living is not simply just taking another breath. Living is not just getting through the next day or avoiding the next person that you have trouble with and you're afraid to see them. Living becomes something very different. so that when you see that person, you reach out in love and you forgive them and you ask them to forgive you. And it's going to be tough, there's no doubt about it. But you will live not afraid after that moment. Living is facing your sickness, knowing that neither life, nor death, nor angels, nor principalities, nor things present, nor things to come, nor power, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will ever separate you from the love of the one who gave himself for you. Nothing can separate you. Living is not existing under some tyranny. Living is being set free. So that when you see someone else who is in need and you reach out to them, every single one of those actions where you reach out with the love of Christ is an act of defiance against the powers of this world, the principalities that would knuckle us down underneath their reign of fear. And it all starts with an infant born to peasants and a fragile system that can be brought down by the power of love. Amen.